Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Comfort Zone. I am April, and this is a space where we talk about stories, experiences, situations that where we have gone out of our comfort zone in a comfortable environment. And in this episode, this is one of the first episodes where I have someone online. We're talking to Lo Oglesbe, who is, in my opinion, we've gone through the exact same, obviously not the exact same thing in life, but similar thing in life. The only difference is I did it in Madrid and she is living in Almeria. So welcome, Lo.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that you're on the podcast because we talk all the time and we text and we
I
WhatsApp and
know.
everything, and we've never met in person. We're
This
just
is like the first time seeing your face and talking to you at the same time because we do send a lot of voice messages, but not FaceTime.
Yeah, I know. We never FaceTime. We've never met in person, but like I
Oh,
feel like I know you because we've kind of gone through similar things. Um, let's
yes.
start off the episode talking a little bit about you. Tell us, who is Lo? Where are you from? Where were you born? How did you grow up?
Okay, so yeah, I'm Lo. It's short for Lauren. It's actually my initials, Lauren Oglesbe. So I was born in China. My parents were
Wow.
living there for a couple years, and they happened to have me there. I left when I was 6 months old, but it's still a cool, like, fun fact that I can use whenever I need it. I'm from the United States. I'm from North Carolina in the United States, and I've been in Spain for the past 5 years. So I finished university. I studied abroad when I was in university, and I fell in love with Spain. I studied abroad in Spain, obviously, and fell in love with it and tried to find a way to get back here. And then I've been in Almeria ever since.
Well, that's nice. So wait, rewind a bit because you were born in China.
Yeah, I know.
So
I do
like
not have citizenship or anything, unfortunately. I feel like that would come in handy.
where in China were you born and how did that happen?
I was born in Hong Kong, so my parents were working in New York for banks. I think my dad was working for a bank and he did all of his business with
Mhm,
China, and so they offered him the opportunity to go over there. So he was working like crazy hours for the time change. And so
mhm.
they offered him to go over there, and my parents were young. They had one kid at the time. And they said, sure. And they went over there and they went with one kid and came back with three. My sister and I were both born there. So
Wow. How
my
many
brother and
years were
sister
you
went
guys
to,
in?
I
Sorry.
don't know, like 4 years maybe they were there in total,
Mhm.
which is crazy. And they traveled all over like the Philippines
Oh, that's where
and
I'm from.
yes, and all over Asia. I think they got to Australia, New Zealand. So I think maybe that's where I get a little bit of my traveler's itch from.
So you have a older brother?
Older brother and an older sister. Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're the youngest.
I'm the baby. I
How does
know.
it feel like being the youngest? Because I'm the oldest, and I'm like, I'm
It
the first child, first grandchild, oldest girl. I was the only
is.
girl for so many years. There's only two of
Oof.
us. I think we're like 17 years apart. Yeah.
Really?
Well, not my sister, sorry, I'm talking about my cousin.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
like
but still.
yeah, so we're, like, 10 cousins. I'm the firstborn, first grandchild, first daughter, and, like, it's just, like, what's it like being the youngest?
Yeah, I do not envy you because like my brother and sister always got things like a phone, for example, like when they were like 16, and I got mine like way younger. And just like everything like that, like curfew, all the things like happened
I
for
do
me
feel
way
like
younger.
I do feel like sometimes I get a little, like, older sibling rage. Like,
I get it.
sometimes it's, like literally, I remember when I was younger, I wanted a tattoo. And
Mhm.
my dad's like, if you get a tattoo, you're gonna be disinherited. My grandma's like, you're never allowed to get a tattoo. Look at everybody who has a tattoo now. Like all of my boy
Yep.
cousins have tattoos. And I'm like,
Yeah.
where's this energy coming from?
I know. I do think I have an advantage a little bit of that, but also I think that I will always be the baby, like in everyone's mind. Like I think everyone has me frozen at like 16, and I have to like convince them sometimes that I'm like almost 30, which is insane.
That's wild. I don't even want to think about it.
I know.
Okay, but Hong Kong. So you don't really have a huge recollection of your life in Hong
Yeah.
Kong.
No, I mean I've seen pictures and stuff. I think my brother he was like maybe 8 when they left. He remembers a little bit, and my mom is my parents are still in contact with, it was, like, really common to have live-in, like, maids, childcare,
Yeah.
everything. So we had a woman named Cora who lived with us and helped us, and my parents are still in contact with her and give her money every month.
Oh, that's so nice.
I know.
Um, but, I don't know if you've seen there's this show on Your Life is Like Giving Me this show on Prime Video called Expats.
Oh my god, no, I haven't seen it.
Oh my
Is
god,
it a
you haven't seen it?
reality show?
No, 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 it's like it's a well, it's kind of like a thriller, but,
Mhm,
like, it's literally that. It's American people who get sent to work in Hong Kong,
mhm.
and, like, their kids are there, they grew up there, they have a live-in nanny, like, it
Good for you. Oh
literally
my
sounds like
god.
your life.
I
Yeah,
need
one
to
of
see
the
it.
kids gets lost, but, like, yeah,
Mama.
in Lost in Mongkok. I don't know if you remember.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, it was all expensive. From what I recall, my parents telling me, like, the company paid for their rent and everything, and this number sounds crazy, but they said the rent was, like, 18,000 a month. And I'm
Hong
like,
Kong dollars.
Yes, but I'm like, "That is insane that your company would just pay, like, you would be crazy to not take that."
I think like 18,000 Hong Kong dollars is 1 US dollar 6 or 7 Hong Kong dollars. So I think it's like really expensive.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, but I just remember
No,
that number, like, has stuck in my head. I'm like, "Your company paid for everything. They paid for the maid, the live-in maid." Like, my parents had it
that's
made, honestly.
yeah, no, that's wild.
I
But
know.
no, Hong Kong is really expensive and I think like now it's even worse. My aunt and uncle also used to live in Hong Kong and I used to visit them a lot when I was younger. They went
Really?
back yeah, they
Aw.
went when I was in the Philippines, my aunts and uncles now they from Hong Kong, they moved to Australia, and then
Mhm.
coming to the Philippines, they had to pass through Hong Kong, and they had, like, a day in Hong Kong, and they kinda, like, went around to the spots
Yeah.
that they used to go to, and they were like, "Everything is absolutely expensive."
Gentrified,
My
probably, with
yeah,
the
no,
white people.
it's just, like, really expensive in Hong Kong, but that's
Mhm.
crazy. So
Yeah.
but then you grew up most of your life in North Carolina.
Yeah, literally lived in the same house. My parents, like, went like this, picked on a map, where to live, and they chose North Carolina because they didn't have any family from there or anything. Bought a house, and we lived in that same house up until, like, last year, my parents sold it. So for almost my entire life, 25 years, pretty much, same house,
That's wild, and did you
you
feel,
know?
like, kind of, like, attached to this house, like, when your parents sold it? Like, were you a little
Yeah.
sad?
I am still sad, like, I just brought my Spanish boyfriend home with me last year, and we, like, drove by it, and it was so weird not being able to go inside. I'm like, "This is my house." Like, I wanna show him where I grew up. It was weird.
That's so but they your pa did your parents downsize? Because I know, like, sometimes it's
Yeah,
common. Yeah. My
right, so we
parents
lived
did
in, like, a
too.
bigger house in, like, a big suburb, and our street had all kids on it, like, of the same age, and they're now grown up, and they have their own
Mhm.
kids. Now it's like everyone's kinda moving away. They actually bought a farm out in the middle of nowhere,
Oh,
and they're
wow.
living their little farm retired life.
Wow, like, what a pivot.
I know,
What a rebrand.
I
But that's
know.
really cool.
Mhm,
So you mentioned that in university you did a study abroad. What did you
mhm.
study while you were in university?
Right, so I went in studying teaching, and my parents were really hesitant on me studying teaching because North Carolina is so the pay for teachers differs in each state, and North
Mhm.
Carolina was number 48 out of 50 of the worst paid, like, horrible. And so my parents were like, "Really rethink it, rethink it, rethink it." And so I pivoted after my first year to something that I thought was similar, which was child psychology with a
Okay.
minor in Spanish. So I decided to study abroad my junior year and get all of my Spanish credits. So I studied abroad in Santander in the north.
Very nice.
It was amazing. We were only there for 89 days, which now looking back, I realize how lucky we were because we didn't have to get a visa. So we were after 90 days, you have to get a
True.
visa.
Ah,
So it
so
was
that's how
amazing.
they did it. Well,
Yeah.
that's also,
Well,
like, really interesting because I was just thinking about it that you said both of your parents worked in banking.
yeah, their whole life.
Um, you were born in Asia. I'm just trying to
Mhm.
find things that we have in common because both of my parents also work in banks. We're
Yeah.
both born in Asia. I go to Hong Kong all the time.
The
I
only thing that I
didn't
think we differ is you moved around quite a bit, like, at least
yeah.
school.
Yeah, I had a lot of schools.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel too attached to the house that I had in Canada, probably because I
Mhm.
did move around a lot. But I do want to hear a little bit about your study abroad experience. But
Mhm.
before that, I almost forgot on the Comfort Zone podcast, we always like put on a little skincare because I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with Korean skincare. I have a little sheet mask, and Lo in Almeria has her own sheet mask.
Man.
Mine is, I'm excited to try this. This is a Meta Heal one. So this is like a bougie one. My
Ooh.
aunt my aunt bought me this in the Korean airport, and it
Yeah.
says the EGT Nourishing Ampule Mask. That sounds fancy to me. So
Yes. I'm doing one from IDC Institute, which is my absolute favorite. This one has ginseng and collagen, and it says it improves skin elasticity and makes it look vital. That's what I need.
honestly, I feel like we're approaching 30, so
Don't say it again. That is
like
wild.
the whole skin elasticity thing. Yeah.
Yeah, my skin
I
just looks dull these days.
thankfully I don't have that many wrinkles yet,
Mhm.
but I am starting to notice like
Those
crow's
are those
feet.
Asian roots, girl.
Pardon?
Those are those Asian roots.
Oh yeah,
Black.
I know. I'm quite lucky because I think like Asians in general have really good skin. Although I did suffer a little like acne breakout earlier this year, and I did a
Mhm.
lot of skincare to kind of like rectify it. Which is kind of why I'm on Korean Skin Talk. But
That's a dangerous place to be because it is not cheap.
yeah, it's not cheap. But actually, when I went to the Philippines in February, I bought a bunch of things. I got like the Anua cleansing oil. I got the Anua heart leaf toner. They're about like 15 euros over there, so
Probably cheaper there, yeah, for sure.
a little bit cheaper. But
Oh my
oh,
god, they look
you
so
look
cute.
great. Anyways, while our skin is soaking up all of the moisture, tell me a little bit about your study abroad experience in Santander.
Yeah, so I went with 3 separate universities where we were a group of about 30 people. And when I'm telling you that it changed my life, it changed my life. Just a little background, I was dating my next door neighbor, who was like my high school sweetheart. We had been dating for 7 or 8 years, girl. A
Wow,
lifetime.
this is like a
And
movie.
I know, it was an American movie, truly. We went like met at our lockers and stuff. Um, but yes, we were dating while I was studying abroad, and when I studied abroad, I just felt like I was born again. Like, it was euphoric. I just had the time of my life. Like, I was living. And
Mhm.
I was communicating this obviously to my partner back home, and he was just like expressing like no desires to travel or like
Really?
I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to come back here with you," and he was just like, "Meh," like, none of that, and I was like, "What am I doing? Like, this is the person I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with." Like, no shade to him, because to each their own, not everyone has to travel, but, like, in Spain, I decided to end our relationship,
Oh, there we go.
and
Really
I
big.
am 100% convinced that if we would have stayed together, I would be in a house in our old neighborhood with 2 kids and a baby on my hip and, like, a golden retriever in our backyard, like, 100%.
That's so wild because I remember when I was 19, 19 turning 20, I had a boyfriend. We weren't together for as long as you and your boyfriend were,
Mhm.
but I had a bad breakup. I went back to the Philippines, and I kind of like while I was in the Philippines, I to like, mend my broken heart. I took a semester off. While I was in
Mhm.
the Philippines, I traveled. I went to Australia, and then I really like fell in love with traveling. And I also feel the exact same way you do that if me and this Canadian boy like never broke up, I would still be like in Canada, working like a normal 9 to 5 in a house in the suburbs with a
Yep,
kid. Like he has a kid. So
right.
there
Same.
it
I
is.
mean, and we potentially could have been happy, like you and I, potentially could have been happy in that life, but like I'm so happy where I am now, and I'm glad that I got that wake up call. And no shade to him. Like I said, I hope he's
Yeah,
happy.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
obviously we still keep in contact. We were neighbors forever, so we have a lot of people in contact, but or people like in common. But I met some amazing friends while I was studying abroad. We were a group of like five, like really core people. And one of the girls in that group, we went back to university after we
Mhm.
studied abroad, and we still had 1 year left. And me and her the whole time were just like, we got to get back to Spain. Like we got to find a way to get back there. Like, and that is how we discovered the Auxiliares de Conversaciones program.
Wow, that's
And we came
like
back together.
that's so cool. So
Mhm.
you came back and you did the program together.
Right. We put
Uh,
that we were a couple so that we'd end up in the same town.
I'm dead. I love
Yeah. And
that.
we did. And we ended up in the same pueblo.
And this is in Almeria.
Yeah. So we got placed, I think if you remember, like you can choose
Mhm.
like the different regions, and we chose Andalusia, and we ended up in Almeria, which like this might be just my ignorant American self, but I'd never heard of Almeria. Like
That's
never heard of
fair.
it. Sorry. And I got placed even outside of the city, like 45 minutes outside of it, in this town called Mijar. So I wasn't even in the capital. And yeah, I was here for a year. I was here with my friend Rosemary. We lived together and it was amazing. It was like study abroad 2.0, honestly. Like I
Really?
was living.
So, after that 1 year, did you renew? Did you decide to
Mhm.
do it again? What year did you come to Spain?
Right. So I finished university in 2018 in like June of that year. And that following September of 2018, I was in Almeria. Did the full calendar year, the full academic year. And then I think after like 4 months, like September, October, November, December, by December, I had already tried to renew for the next year. So like I already knew that I wanted to do another year. I just couldn't get enough. And
Yeah.
so Rosemary and I, my friend that I came with, decided to go to Granada the next year. Same thing, but that we were a couple so that we would get the same town, and it worked again.
Oh wow, so you did Almeria then Granada. But
Yep.
I'm doing the math. So school year
Mhm.
2018, 2019, you did the full calendar year, but 2019, 2020, you hit the pandemic in Granada. Am I
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Wild.
So somewhere in the middle there, I met my Spanish boyfriend, and he came to Granada with us. So we were in Granada, me, my friend Rosemary, and my boyfriend living together. And the pandemic happened right in the middle. I think I was only in Granada from October to March. So not even 6 months, or maybe 6 months
That's
exactly.
crazy. And then
Mhm.
in March, where did you go?
So my partner, my boyfriend's from Almeria. So we were like,
Mhm.
at that time, everyone was thinking it's just going to be 2 weeks. It's just 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks, like an extended spring break almost. So we came back to Almeria. Um, Rosemary at the time was dating Pablo's, my boyfriend's best friend. So she came back with us. He's also from
Okay.
Almeria. So we were like, we're gonna go have like our 2 week spring break in Almeria. We brought like our high heels, like we brought like dresses. We're like, we're gonna go out to eat all the time, da 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 da
Oh,
da.
wild.
And then we got trapped here. Like
In
we could not
Almeria.
go back. Yeah, we could not go back to Granada to get our stuff until July. So we were trapped in Almeria from March to July with like a carry-on bag, like a couple outfits. It was crazy.
That's why. How did you survive? Wait, where? Okay, like logistics.
Yeah, we
Where
were
did you?
staying with his parents.
All four of you?
No, just Pablo and I, and then she was staying with her boyfriend's parents.
Oh my God,
It
that's
was
crazy.
rough, girl. I mean, staying with your in-laws for an extended period of time is hard in any circumstance, but then being like trapped in a house for like 8 months
No,
was a
okay, but
lot.
also, how long had you been dating Pablo before you moved in with his in-laws?
Mm, we'd been dating for a full year, but during that full year, I had gone back to the United States for 4 months, and then we were living in Granada, so I barely knew them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So even though we'd been dating for a year, I'd only probably seen them like on a handful of occasions.
Honestly, I think that I hadn't obviously I knew of Javi's parents
Mhm.
and they knew of me, but I'm thinking back, I don't think I met them until after we had been dating for over a year.
Oh
Like,
gosh.
yeah, like face to face, I've never met them for until like after a year, which is wild. So then you are stuck in Almeria. What
Mhm.
happened after the pandemic?
Yeah. So the pandemic happened. So my boyfriend's parents have a house in the city center and then they have a beach house, which is only like 20 minutes away. We spent the pandemic, all four of us, at the beach house. And then when the world opened up again and everyone was back to work, they came back to their city house and we decided to stay at their beach house and live there for a little while, save some money on some rent. And at that time, I was doing English classes
Mhm.
and babysitting and honestly just trying to make ends meet because we weren't like the world wasn't like fully back, but I made a lot of contacts and was just doing little odd jobs until I finally found a steady nanny job, I think in 2021.
Okay, so that was a couple months, and then finally you got a steady nanny job and you were nannying.
Yes. So I was nannying from 8 to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday
Okay, so
for a family.
for people who are also in Spain, people who are also um giddies, foreigners, people who have done the
Mhm.
language assistance program,
Yes.
I know the rates for nannying or I know the rates for babysitting as an English speaker in Madrid. I got paid $10 an hour. I'm
Yeah.
assuming Almeria is a little bit different. What how are the salaries
Yeah.
there? Obviously, we'll touch on cost of living in a bit, but like
Mhm.
just to kind of like shed some light on people's expectations of Spain.
Yeah, this is a like a sense not sensitive, something that just gets me like riled up because people will be like, we need to all charge 20 and 25 an hour because we're worth it. And we are worth it. But let's be freaking for real because with Spanish salaries, people can afford to pay $25 an hour or 25 euros an hour. So yeah, I was making 10 euros an hour and there were twins. There were two twin girls and they were 2 years
Mhm.
old. Um, I thought I was well compensated. I mean,
I
I
agree.
think you can charge more if you're doing less hours potentially, but more being like 12. Like
No, no, no,
I
but
was
I think
working for
like
them for a lot of hours a week. Like it's impossible for them to pay me more.
no, to be so for real, I think that's really, really good in Almeria because like now I'm feeling like I got
Yeah.
gypped because I
Mhm.
was working as a English babysitter
Yeah.
in Las Rozas here in Madrid. And if you're from Madrid, you know Las Rozas is where all of the really rich, posh people are. I was
Yeah.
taking care of three kids, two twins, yeah,
Hmm.
two twins, all boys,
Yeah, you
three
might have been
boys.
undercharging.
Yeah, two twin boys that were 3 years old and
Mhm.
one 5 one 6-year old,
Mhm.
and they I was only getting paid 10 euros an hour.
I
I
will say
and that's
that these
one.
people are were well off. Like they both
Mhm.
both parents had really high paying jobs. I don't think that I could charge a lot of people that price in Almeria.
Yeah.
They did set the price though. I have no idea what I would have charged, but yeah, I thought I was well
Yeah,
compensated.
'cause, for those who are also with a similar background, language assistance in Spain, in
Yeah.
Madrid, I charge for classes, like English classes per hour, 20 euros an hour.
Yeah.
And I've never really had any issues with people pushing back on that here in Madrid, but
Right.
it is like the babysitting like is around 10, which I think
Yeah.
is really good for someone in Almeria to be also getting 10 considering like the vast difference in cost of living.
Right. It was great and I think it was 10 an hour, but I got there, like, my time started at 8, but the kids didn't wake up till 10, and I think during those hours, I charged only 5. Also, the dad is Pablo's cousin, my boyfriend's cousin, so, like, I
Mhm.
wasn't gonna, like, charge them a super crazy amount, but Yeah, I was really, really comfortable with them, and obviously the deal was that I spoke to them in English, which, like, is fine. But I do think you can leverage that, obviously, depending on the situation. It's a job, like, a part of your job, you know?
Yeah, and but I think, like, honestly, you did really well, and so
Mhm,
you did this nannying for how
mhm.
long and until when?
Right. So I was with them for a full academic year, and then into the summer, I think a month. And at the
Mhm.
same time, I was somewhat nannying also in the afternoons. I would be with this little boy and this little girl, for like 3 or 4 hours twice a week. And then I think I was also doing some English classes in the afternoon. I remember I worked every afternoon because I was tired.
That was a life, like, here in Madrid
Yeah.
as well, like, as a language assistant, for those who don't know, you get €1,000 stipend, and
Mhm.
no offense, it's not enough,
No. In
and
Almeria,
there
it was
was
700.
yeah,
Yes.
um
No.
so much less, and I
Mhm.
remember when I was doing the language assistant program, I was doing 14 to 16 hours extra after school just
Yeah.
to, like, have savings because also people need to understand that if you are in this program, you only get your stipend from October to June or October to May, not even the
Mhm.
whole year. So, like,
Yeah.
a good, like, you're missing a full quarter or a third of the year in,
Yeah.
like, income.
Absolutely. And I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people experienced it. Both No, sorry. The first year for me, I didn't see my first paycheck until January. And, like, good thing I was doing some side hustles and, like, good thing I had some money that I came with, but, like, I even tried to do, like, a little mini strike, and I was like, "I'm not going to work until you pay me." But, like, I did not have money to live off of, and they were expecting me to just work for free, and I understand that the money comes from the government and it doesn't come from the school, but, like, you wouldn't expect anyone else in Spain
Yeah.
to work for free. So, like, my strike only lasted a week because I chickened out, but yeah, I mean, people get paid late a lot in this program. And my second year in Granada, the government didn't give them their funds either until really late. But luckily, my school had the funds to like front me the money. But
That's
it's
really
crazy.
nice of your school, yeah. No,
Yeah,
I've never had that problem in Madrid, thankfully, but I have heard in other, like, communities in Spain this is quite frequent.
yeah,
So
it's a shame.
I mentioned earlier in this pod that we are like internet friends.
Yeah.
And the reason we are internet friends is because we follow each other on TikTok. I
Mhm.
see all of your TikToks. You make really fun content. And
Thank you.
also, I think like one thing that I do admire of your TikTok is you do a lot of videos in Spanish.
Hmm.
And I just can't. Like, I don't know. I can speak Spanish and I speak
Mhm.
Spanish fluently and I know I do. I just like
Right.
can't like make the videos in Spanish because I don't know. I feel weird about it. I feel like people are going to judge my Spanish because they do and they say things in the
Yeah.
comments, but like it just like I can't do it, but you do it all the time. Um First question,
Mhm.
how did you learn Spanish? And second question, how did you decide to start your social media?
Right. So when I came to Spain, to live here for a longer, not when I was studying abroad. I probably had like a basic level of Spanish. Like I could communicate in the present tense and like, you know, get my way through it. I do have to say though that I live in Andalusia, which is like their accent is strong. And so
Yeah, but
that was
I
like a
feel like you
reality
have
check.
that accent.
Yeah. So I don't say that I've learned like Spanish. I've learned Almeriense. Like I speak Almeriense because I predominantly learned from my partner Pablo. When we
Mhm.
first got together, like we were attached at the hip, I have to say. Like we spent all day together. And that's a good intensive course. I will say that is the best advice I can give to someone. If you are trying to learn a language, get out there dating with those people that speak those language because you will want to learn to be able to communicate with them. So I did that. And then, like I said, the second year that I was here, I was trapped inside with my Spanish in-laws. So I had like a
That's
9-month
yeah.
intensive course that I had to learn because I was living with them. So I think that has really helped me learn the language. Hot take, get trapped inside the house with your in-laws and you'll learn the language. But I really like I was seeking it out the first year that I was here. Like any free time
Mhm.
that I had, I was studying. I would go around the house like marking down what everything was in Spanish and like really, really made an effort to do it. And then I started on social media in during the pandemic, just like I think a lot of people just posting on TikTok for fun. And I started out posting blogs of the days in my life as a nanny, which I did talk to the parents and got their consent and everything. And I predominantly started in English, posting videos in English. And then over time, I did a few in Spanish and saw that they performed well. And now I feel like I'm kind of trapped. I have this like love hate relationship with posting in Spanish because I kind of feel like I would like to post in English. But when I look at my stats, 98% of my followers are Spanish speakers. So obviously, my Spanish videos perform better just because they can understand them.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I started posting during the pandemic and I had a couple of videos go viral. I had a video hit a million and that was like crazy to me. And then one day I had one of my vlogs go really viral and like all of these different news outlets were picking it up.
Wow, which
And
vlog
I
was
think
that?
it was just a vlog about a day in my life as a nanny, I think, or a day in my life as an American. Like my tagline was always like, I'm a 26-year-old American living in Spain, and then I would like go about my
Mhm.
day. And a lot of news outlets picked up, and at that time, I was cussing a lot in my videos, and that's
Mhm.
unfortunately like what they picked up about it. They were like the Americana de palabrotas, like the American who cusses a lot was like my like the headlines, and I was like,
Really? Oh god.
oh no. I was
And
like,
how
no,
did
no, no,
you deal
no.
with that?
I was like, that's not what I want to be known for. But luckily, it wasn't like hate or anything. It was just like that was the humor that I was using. I do cuss a lot in my normal life.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna
Um,
take a
I do cuss a lot in my normal life, but like obviously stuff that is on the internet forever. And like I was like, that's not what I want to be known as. So I have
yeah.
modified that a little bit. So yeah, I still post a lot of daily content vlogs and I like to post a lot of like restaurant travel stuff, more lifestyle now. I mean, same as always, but with less cussing.
No, that's fair. Yeah. So, uh, can you remember your first viral video?
Yes, I remember it perfectly because it literally took 2 seconds to film, which is like normally the most viral videos that I have. That is what it's like, which is so frustrating because the vlogs that I do take me like, even though the vlog is only like 2 minutes long, they take me a long time to edit and to film.
Well,
And
yeah, it
sometimes
takes the
they're
whole
like,
day.
yeah, sometimes they're like 45 minutes worth of video clips, and then I have to edit them down to 2 minutes, and they don't perform as well as a video that I just film in like 2 seconds. But that was my first viral video. It hit a million, and it was me using a trending audio to talk about how we had like a jamon leg in our kitchen, which
Oh,
was
wait, I remember this video.
yes, yes. So that was my first viral one. I think that one, and I've only had one other, or maybe two other ones hit a million. So I'm not like super, super viral, but it is crazy when that happens.
Yeah, it is crazy. Actually, I this there's a video that's been getting so much traction on my TikTok currently. You probably
Mhm,
haven't seen it. I think it's just like it's a very interesting look at the TikTok algorithm because this
mhm.
video I posted in 2020. This
Stop.
is 4 years ago, and I keep getting notifications. People are commenting, people are liking. It
Mhm.
initially had 200,000 views. I just checked, and it has over 1,000,000 now.
What?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but this video was posted. like 4 years ago, and now people are looking at it, people are seeing it, and it was just like about like a little bit about like racism against Asian people. And I think like
Mhm.
because maybe I was in the Philippines, the algorithm like picked it up because then all of the people in that area saw it, started
Gosh.
commenting and
Yeah.
all of these things. But I just find it so interesting because this has happened twice. That's why I say never delete a video. You don't know. This was
Yeah.
4 years ago.
No,
Like
never.
4 years ago. Because I remember I did another one a long time ago in the pandemic. Me and my boyfriend would do like Filipino words that are similar in Spanish.
Yes.
And then whatever, it had like not even 10,000 views, maybe 5,000 views. And
Mm.
after 2 weeks, it just suddenly hit the Philippines
Mhm.
and shot up to 300,000 and like literally overnight. So
No, the
I think that
algorithm does not make any sense. Like, I
no,
remember I had one video, one of my, like, most viral videos on Instagram, I think. It like, the first day, I'm not kidding, got, like, 40 views in the first day, and I was like, "Ugh," but I don't wanna delete it because then TikTok gets mad or Instagram gets mad, and so I just left it. I woke up the next day, like, overnight, it got, like, 70,000 views. I was like,
that's
"How in
crazy.
24 hours you're gonna get 40, and then, like, overnight, you're gonna get 70?" And then I think it got almost to 1,000,000 in, like, a
That's
week. So I'm
crazy.
like, it doesn't make sense. I still have not figured out the TikTok algorithm, to be honest.
Me neither. I've just kind of like given up and I've honestly I've given up. But
Mm,
but you started making day in the life vlogs about your life in
mhm,
Spain. You
yeah,
started as a nanny, but now you're no longer a nanny and you work
no,
for a football club.
mhm,
I know we've spoke about this privately, but let's talk a little bit about like finding a job and what it's like to work in
mhm,
Spain
yeah,
because it's rough out here.
it
And
is, girl.
I'm assuming in order for you to have worked in Spain, you'd have to have done pareja de hecho.
Yeah, I did pareja de hecho during the pandemic because my visa ran out and we were in love, but I mean, I really want to stay in Spain. So sorry if you're watching this Spanish government. It is real. We do love each other.
I think it's
But
well documented on your TikTok that you are an actual couple, so
yeah,
they
yeah.
can't really say
Um,
anything.
which that
For the
whole process was horrible, by the way, but we did it and we are here.
For those of you the for those who are listening who don't know what pareja de hecho means, it basically is a process in Spain that legalizes your partnership. It's
Mhm,
kind of in between a civil union and common law, but it is
mhm.
only valid in the community that you apply in.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I move to Almeria, me and Javi are no longer pareja de hecho and vice versa. You'd have to do it again.
I didn't know that, to be
And
honest.
actually sidebar, a teacher at my old school told me this story about a friend of a friend. So, like, we don't
Mhm,
know these people, and hopefully they don't mind me sharing this story, but I think it's kind of sad, but,
mhm,
I think it's interesting. It's a good thing to know. So, basically, the teacher at my old school, her husband was in the military, and one of the other military couples did pareja de hecho,
mhm.
in Sevilla. The military husband or pareja de hecho in this scenario went to Valencia and unfortunately passed away. Yes, and because they did pareja de hecho only, they weren't married, and
Mhm.
also they were only pareja de hecho in Sevilla, the girlfriend, wife, partner was entitled to none of the military benefits.
You're
Mhm.
lying.
I'm
Oh,
so serious. I don't know, like, I don't know the nitty-gritty. I don't know, like, the laws about this,
yeah,
but, like, I remember my jaw dropped.
that is
Like,
wild. Yeah, I don't know all the ins and outs. Like, a lot of people ask me, like, "What's the difference between, like, this and, like, marriage, like, legally?" Or, like, "What happens if you guys break up?" I'm like, "I really don't know. I probably should figure it out, but I'm here, and that's all that matters."
and that's how we got jobs.
Yeah.
So, I know that getting a job in Spain for me was, like, a huge roller coaster. What
Mhm.
was it like for you?
Yeah, so I did the nanny thing for 2 years. I nannied for one family during 1 year, and then the following year, I nannied for 2 sisters who both had kids,
Mhm.
so I watched their kids. And then, once again, they went to school when I finished with them, so I had to look for a job, and so I went home over the summer and was just looking for jobs, and then I found one in an academy, an English
Very nice.
academy, which I feel like is the route that a lot of English native speakers take. Teaching was never like really, really my passion. I think I am good with kids. I love kids. I love working with them. So I used that to my advantage and would work with like the little ones, like 6 and under. So I started in the academy in August, September, and I was still continuing and still growing on TikTok and Instagram and really liking it and liking it a
Mhm.
lot more than teaching. And so I was taking courses to learn how to like edit better. And I took some community management courses, just basically trying to utilize my free time to where eventually in the future I could work in marketing because obviously I didn't have any background in it.
I felt
And
the
then
exact same way.
yeah, I mean,
'Cause, like, you
what?
studied child psychology, correct?
Mhm,
And I
yeah,
studied finance, and, like, sometimes in my brain, I'm like, "Who are we to go into marketing with no experience?" So, I also think, like, I felt this pressure, and I think similar to you, to build the experience online.
right, right. But I got contacted by someone on LinkedIn, by a man asking me to work in his marketing agency.
There
And
it is.
I was like, "Oh my god, this is it. This is the moment." So, like, I think, like, the next day it was moving really, really fast too, like, I was like, "I need you, like, now. We're in, like, a boom." And so I went in, like, the very next day and, like, explained it to my boss at the academy, and he was obviously, like, really understanding. He was like, "This is an opportunity you can't pass up." Um, and I started working for that marketing agency. I was freelance. I was given the opportunity between freelance or a contract, and I chose freelance. And I was freelance 20 hours a week, and then at the same time got contacted to work in marketing at the football club. And I was
Wow.
given the option to work on a contract there. So I was working 40 hours a week at the football club while doing 20 hours a week of the freelance marketing agency.
That's crazy.
And
You're so, like,
wild.
I don't how did you not burn out? Or did
I
you?
I did. I did. I was working 7 days a week, and the marketing agency, there was no really set schedule.
Mhm.
Um, some of our clients had events late at night, and a football club obviously has weekend games. So, long story short, I was working 7 days a week for a full year. And I reached a point I looking back now, I burnt out in August, and I didn't end up making a change about it until October, and I kind of wish that I would have made a change earlier, but I'm about my money. So I was
Yeah.
making a 2 salary, a 1 salary and a half. So I was like, "I'm just gonna stick this out as long as I can," but it really started affecting my mental health. I mean, there were some weeks where I would put in, like, 70 hours a week, and
That's crazy.
I was getting paid well. I mean, I was obviously making a lot of money, but it was not anywhere worth what I should have been
Yeah,
because a lot of time the 20 hours freelance, which is ultimately why I ended up quitting in the end, would turn out to be 30 or 40 hours on top of a full-time job
exactly, yeah.
that we're not compensated for those hours. So I quit the freelance and I'm still currently with the football club, which is 40 hours a week. Turns out
Mhm.
to be a little bit more a lot of times, but yeah, I've been with them for about a year and a half.
Wow, that's wild, and I do think, like, it's very interesting because I remember I went out to lunch with my manager and some of my coworkers,
Mhm.
and, um, there was me and this other American girl, uh,
Mhm.
and she was basically saying that like, oh, Pearl does boxing classes outside of school or outside of school, sorry, outside of work. We're no longer
Right.
working at schools now, but
Yeah.
like Pearl does
Yeah.
boxing classes outside of work, and I
Mhm.
have like, my social media, my podcast. I still do private classes and XYZ, all of these extra side hustles.
No, you do it
Um,
all.
I know I don't know how honestly, I don't know how I do it, but like, um, and then she asked the table, she like, "Does anyone else have a side hustle?" And, like, everybody else said
And you're
no,
like,
and it was
"Hold on one second."
nobody else had a side hustle. It was literally just the 2, like, I'm Canadian, but, like, American
Right.
girls, and I think it's, like, so ingrained in our, like, culture, like, the hustle
Yes.
culture, because also, like, people ask me, like, "Why are you still teaching English?" And I'm like, "'Cause I love the money." Like, I love
Money.
having, like, a little extra. This is, like,
Yes.
the money that I use if I want to, like, go out and get a drink with friends or
Mhm.
get my nails done or get my lashes done. Like, this is, like, my extra. Um,
You don't know
but
how much time during the day I dedicate to thinking about, "Okay, how can I make more money?" Like, what other side hustles can I do? I need some more passive income, like, how do I make more money?
and just a segue into, like, I feel like, and I've mentioned this to another friend, but I do feel like the honeymoon period I had with Spain, I'm sorry, it's over. Like,
Fun.
it's so long gone
Mhm.
because and I think it's, like, a mixture of, like, adulting and then having to adult in a country that's not your country.
Yeah.
And, like, you don't have, like, your family to support you or anything because it's rough. Like,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
understand, like, it's rough in the US, it's rough in Canada, it's rough in Spain. At least if we're gonna suffer, we suffer in sunlight.
That is
Um
100% how I think. Like, obviously, I love where I live, like, it's amazing, but at the end of the day, I'm getting burnt out. I am
Mhm.
like, there's not enough time in the day. I get home from work, I grocery shop, I, like, get my lunch ready for the next day. Like, at the end of the day, we're just hustling in a different country, but like you said, if we're gonna hustle and be burnt out, might as well do it in Spain.
Yeah, I'm at it like,
Mhm,
for those of you listening who are thinking about coming to Spain, like, come to Spain, but just know the salaries are lower.
mhm,
Um, Cost of living is getting higher. It's not as high as it is in the US and Canada, so that is a
obviously.
plus. But, like, bureaucracy sucks, and not everything is, like, sunshine,
Yeah,
beach, siesta, fiesta, no.
right.
The average Spanish person works a lot for
Mhm,
little money,
mhm,
and I'm truly feeling it. Um,
yeah,
but I was curious to know because it
mhm,
seems like both of your parents work in banks, both of my parents work in banks. Seems like
mhm,
both of your parents have good, successful, like, careers. Do
mhm.
you ever have this feeling of, like, maybe I'm projecting, like,
No, I know what you're
what
gonna
the heck
say.
am I like, what am I doing? I'm a
No,
failure. Like, compare
100%.
yourself to your parents. Everybody else is so much more successful than you. What the heck are
Mhm.
we doing?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think, like, as North Americans, like, both of you and I are like, your success is determined by how much money you make. And,
Yeah.
like, that is just true and not true. So I look at my sister who I don't know how much she makes, but I think she makes 6 figures. My 2 best friends back home both make 6 figures. And I am like, "What the heck am I doing?" Like, I think I make 17,000 a year. Probably not even that. So it's like, how am I ever gonna get ahead in life? And I
Mhm.
also, like I said at the beginning, like, will always be looked at as the baby. This is gonna sound, like, really spoiled of me, and I
Mhm.
understand how privileged it sounds, but, like, when I go home, my parents are like, "Oh, do you, like, need some money? Like, do you need some, like, gas money?" It's like they understand that I'm not making enough money, but I also don't think they think that I'm, like, successful.
Mhm.
Maybe that's not true, but I think they think because I'm not making X amount of money that I'm not successful, and it's like, in Spanish eyes, I'm doing okay,
Yeah.
you know?
Here we're doing fine. I would say, like, I'm earning above average. I get
Mhm.
25 a year, like,
Right,
brutos. Netos,
right.
I think, like, 21.
Mhm.
But I do always feel like when I go back to Canada, the same thing. Everybody's like, some of my friends make, 6 figures.
Right.
Um, and also, like, I think there's another nuance in my case because I do come from, like, an Asian family, and I do think, like, in
Yeah,
Asian culture, well, you would know because you guys grew up in Hong Kong, like,
right.
there's another layer to,
No,
like,
it's like you have to be a lawyer,
money.
doctor, engineer, that's it.
Yeah. Lawyer, doctor, engineer. Money comes with status, and also,
Mhm.
like, I think I also maybe the pressure is me putting it on myself, but as I mentioned, I am the first, I am the oldest, I'm the first grandchild, granddaughter, like,
Yeah,
and, like,
that's really hard.
sometimes I feel like I should be doing more, and, like, my younger siblings, cousins are, like, surpassing me for what?
Yeah.
Um
Hello.
And, like, we just have to keep telling ourselves, like, we left the country, we started a new life in a
Yeah,
completely new country. We, learned a new language, and we built a life from 0, and that's something not everybody can do.
period.
But, like, it sucks, and I think,
Yeah.
um
I think my thoughts on money have changed, like,
Mhm.
I love the Spanish mindset of, like, work to live and not living to
Yeah.
work. I always get them mixed up, but, like, basically, like, your job doesn't define you here, and, like, your salary doesn't define you here, and, like, if you have enough money to, like, go out and get some beers every once in a while and, like, take a trip down to the coast, like, you're living. But I do think in the back of my mind, like, is that American, like, mindset of, like, hustle, hustle, make more, make more, make more. So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah,
something
I
to that.
also think, I can't help but compare myself to the expectations that my
Mhm.
family, parents, or peers in North America or the Philippines and Asia have of me, whether they are real or not. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, it
yeah.
could it
Could be in our
th
head.
it could be just in my head. Um, but I think, like, one thing that I know that me and you kind of, like, bonded over a little bit is that our on top of this, on top of the situation of, like,
Mhm.
low salaries, moving to another country, we are the immigrants. Also in our partnerships, our relationships, we are the breadwinner.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's, like, really frustrating, but I just wanted to, like, hear what your thoughts are about that
yeah,
and how you feel before I trauma dump.
yeah. It has been a struggle because, like I said, like, we're coming from different cultures and different backgrounds, and I have never not worked for, like, as long as I can remember. I got my first job when I was 15, I'm now 28, like, the most I've ever taken off of work for that was, like, that 3 months that I studied abroad. Like, I have always worked, and I probably will always work, and making money and being independent is just so important to me. Whereas I don't think that was ever instilled in my partner. Like, I think it's a cultural difference, but also a
Mhm,
family, how we were brought up difference. Like, his family doesn't really talk about money, whereas in my family, like, we talked about it a lot. Like, my parents pretty much, like, made me get a job when I was young, even though they could have kept giving, like, they had the means to kept giving me money, but they were like,
mhm.
"You need to have X amount saved up before you go to university." Like, it was always a topic of conversation, and I don't think that is the case in his family. So there have I've been the breadwinner for the past 5 years of our relationship, um, which I don't believe in gender roles. I wanna say that first and foremost. I don't think it's like, because I'm a woman, I shouldn't be making more. it's not that, but like I would like someone who wants the same things out of life with that I do. And I think Pablo does want that, but I don't know if he has that hustle culture instilled in him.
And I don't think like, to be fair, I don't think like Pablo or Javi have that hustle culture. I don't think they ever will have that hustle culture. But I
Yeah.
remember specifically, like, I remember when I first started dating Javi, I was still working at a school. One of the teachers, she was a philosophy teacher, she would drive me back to the center because I worked in Parla.
Mhm.
And I was telling her, like, oh, I think like, I told her, I was like, it might be sound bad, but I think like his upbringing and his family and my boyfriend come from a little bit of like a working class background in Canada. Like I was like middle class, upper middle
Mm.
class. In the
Yeah.
Philippines, very privileged. And then she stopped me and she told me, she's like, as difficult as like interracial relationships are, like class relationships are also difficult as well. So she kind of was
100%.
like, it's okay to feel like that because people have different mentalities. Like, I think there's a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know the author is a bit like
Yeah.
controversial, but it kind
I
of
bought it
like
for Pablo in Spanish.
but like it kind of like gives you an idea. I always say like there's a poor man's mentality and also like people from
Mhm.
working class backgrounds here in Spain. I completely understand it because I think like Javi hasn't seen an example of what life could be, like
Right.
they see like, oh, this is what life is and that's it and not otherworldly. And I
Yeah.
do think like a little spark was like lit under him when I brought him to the Philippines because
Yeah.
going to the Philippines is an expensive trip. So it was a lot of saving. It was a lot
Mhm.
of like, sacrifices to be made so that we can go and enjoy it to the level that we did. And I think like it kind of lit a spark under him, kind of like, I want to come back, but for me to
Yeah.
come back, I have to make more money, save more money, and like rethink like my life trajectory. But
Yeah, I
being the bread
introduced, like, the whole concept of an emergency fund to Pablo, and he's like, "Why do you need an emergency fund?" And I'm like,
for emergencies.
"I can list off 1,000 reasons if you wanna give me the time."
Oh my god,
Yeah.
please. Just like yeah, no, I also like have started helping Javi saving, but then like
Mhm.
he keeps taking money out of his savings and I'm like, that's defeats the whole point of saving. But like
Yeah,
little by little we've made great strides.
yeah,
And I just think like as what we are immigrants. It is hard being an immigrant and then also having to be a breadwinner because you
yeah.
have to deal with XYZ, finding a job, bureaucracy. Of course, we have to
Mhm.
acknowledge that we are privileged being native English speakers. It is a bit easier.
Yeah.
People love native English speakers here.
You get
But
an upper hand and everything. And I feel like that's the dilemma that I struggled with a lot at the beginning. I was like, "I'm making all this money, why can't you?" But it's
mhm,
like, I did have to take a step back and be like, people hire me regardless of my background and my experiences just because I'm a native English speaker, and I have to be aware of that. I know 100,000% that it played a part in me having the job that I have now in marketing, not even as an
yeah,
English teacher, just in marketing. So, like, I am aware of that, and I'm also aware of the unemployment rate in Spain. It is insane. Like, my boyfriend is borderline fluent in French. Obviously, yeah, now fluent in English, Spanish, like trilingual, has worked tons of jobs, like has so many experiences. And he was unemployed for the past 7 months, applying to jobs nonstop.
yeah.
Finally found one. He starts tomorrow, thank God.
Oh,
But
congrats.
like, he's overqualified for most of the positions that he was applying for, like to work at a grocery store or to work at like a sporting goods store, and he still wasn't getting it. So I do recognize that Spain has its own issues too.
Yeah.
But it's been frustrating being the breadwinner, but at the end of the day, I just want a person that wants to always strive to be better, and I do think I have that in Papa.
Yeah, I think like one thing that I do acknowledge I see it in Pablo, I see it in Javi is like they never stop trying. They still
Yeah.
keep like, and as long as
Mhm.
the effort is there, I'm happy. But
Agree.
like you said, I don't also care about gender roles. I don't think you do either. I
Yeah.
think it's more so having a partner that can take care of themselves, like
Yeah.
financially.
Mhm.
Because
Well, and
like,
building life with them. It's like at the end of the day, right now, if we wanted to start, like thinking about buying a house, I know what money I could put forward, and
yeah,
I know what money Pablo could put forward, and they're not anywhere close. So it's like it does affect me at the end of the day.
yeah, we're literally on the same boat with that.
Yeah.
Buying a house, what? But I don't know. I think like um one thing that I think about all the time is our salaries are like really low for one person. It's
Yeah.
hard to do that like for two, you know? It's
Yeah.
low in Spain. It actually, you know what? It could be enough. It could be enough for one person in Spain.
Yeah.
But for two, no.
No.
Definitely in the US and other places, no. And that's also like an issue that comes in because we are interracial couples, you know,
Yeah.
US, Spain, Canada, Philippines, Spain. So
Mm.
when we go to visit our families, they are earning US salaries, so they can do more with their money, whereas
Right.
we're going there with a Spanish salary.
Mhm.
Thankfully, when I go to the Philippines, I have the currency exchange to like help me. But when you go to
Mhm.
the US, it's work like it doesn't
Yeah,
help
I
at
mean,
all.
I I think I don't know if I mentioned this. I put up a TikTok video about this recently talking about salaries and stuff. And I was saying that if I was able to save like X amount a year, like let's just say I was able to put away 5,000 euros a year, right off the top of that, I would have to take out like 2 or 3,000 just for my 2 trips home that I'll take a
Yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah.
So it's like one
100.
step forward, 2 steps back, even just in flights and like food and everything. Like
Mhm.
I will spend that money, which is another struggle that we have as being immigrants, but I guess it just comes with
Yeah,
it.
it comes with it. And like buying a house, I'm just doing the math. Like the math is not mathing
That's
because
not
like
happening.
if I save for a down payment for an apartment, 500 euros a month for a year, that's 6,000 a year. And that an not even like
No,
a cheap two-bedroom in Madrid, let's say in Carabanchel, where Javi's from, 250,000 euros. 20% of 250,000 euros is 50,000. So to get
no,
even close to 50,000 would
no.
take me like
Years.
like 8 years.
And years living with like a budgeting mindset.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
and then
saying? Like,
and also I think like this comes with like hustling because I feel like you hustle all the time. I hustle all the time. We're always thinking about let's make more money, let's make more money, let's make more money. And the
yeah.
point of burnout for me, or maybe not even physical exhaustion, but like emotional, motivational burnout is like I'm doing everything I can. I'm making as much money as I can,
Yeah.
making money extra. I am restricting myself so much for
Mhm.
what? For this
For
imaginary
what?
house.
Yeah.
For this
For what?
imaginary house that's 250,000 euros now, and in 8 years when I can afford it, it's probably gonna be like double the price.
No,
Mm,
girl.
and then I just spiral. But
And then
that's
you're like,
life,
okay, I just have to
adulting.
work like this job for the next like 35 years. And then yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Pablo and I are at the point where we'd like to start talking about kids, and he keeps saying like, "I want to be economically stable," which I'm like, "Thank you, yes." I would also like you, like both of us, to be economically stable, but I'm like, even so, like even if we were both making what I make, it doesn't seem like it'd be enough to support a whole nother human being. Like
Bro,
that's
I think this
insane.
is I feel like this is like our generation struggle too, because like Javi's always like, "Oh, I want to have kids. I want to start a family." I'm like, bro, I'm turning 30 this year. And
Yeah,
like, we like, how? How? When? By the time we are economically stable, my eggs are gonna be shriveled up and
yeah,
like too late.
I know.
It's just like it's
It's
so
insane.
difficult.
Life.
And I know this sounds like really whiny, but I feel like a lot of people like our generation genuinely feel this way. There is
Yeah,
hope. There is hope. There's a
yeah.
little glimmer of hope, but it's rough. And I think like coming from moving to Spain, like
Are we okay?
it yeah, it feels like, you're 3 months study abroad for the first 3 years, and
Mhm.
then,
Truly.
like and then you snap out of the honeymoon period, and then you're hit with reality.
Yeah,
But I feel like we'd be feeling the same way if we were in Canada and the US.
100%. Like, none of my friends back home are okay. Like,
Yeah, me
they
neither.
are, like, not doing well, and yeah, they might have bought a house, but, like, they're not okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
no.
like, at least I'm not okay and I'm in Spain.
I was, like, doing the math because it said, like, the average Canadian salary is, like, 65,000 Canadian dollars,
Right?
um, which comes out to, I think, like, after taxes, around 2,400 to 2,600 euros a month.
Okay.
That's actually not that much.
No, I mean, there's people in Spain that make that.
Yeah, and they don't have to deal with the crazy cost of living in Canada, like,
Yep, yep.
so it
I
sucks.
feel
It
it,
could be
girl.
worse.
We're gonna make more money. We're gonna continue to get raises, and maybe one day hit the lottery. Who knows?
Honestly, my last, episode that I posted, my friend won the jackpot twice in the casino. So there's,
No,
like there's
no.
hope, but,
There's
like,
hope.
I'm not gonna start because that's, like I don't wanna get, like, a gambling
Addicting.
addiction, you know? Like,
I know.
um, but no, I think, like, we're on the right track.
Mhm.
Life isn't always sunshine, parties, fiesta,
Right.
siestas here in Spain,
Yeah.
but I don't think I would ever move back.
No, I agree. Like, I know we probably just spent the last like 30 minutes being like life sucks, but I am genuinely like so happy in Spain, and I love my life here, and I love the pace of life here, and I do like genuinely like the transition that I'm having to
Mhm.
money isn't everything. I know it may not seem like that based off of what I've just been saying for the past 30 minutes, but like money is not everything, and it is definitely not how someone is defined as successful or not. And you can be happy with probably less than you think. I'm
I
proof of
agree.
it because I know I'm making less than I want to make, and I'm still happy.
Yeah, I think so
Mhm,
too. I think we're very happy in Spain, and
mhm.
the feelings and the struggles we are feeling are not 100% because we are in Spain, but because of like our literal generation, the
Yes.
economic crisis in this world. What is it
Mhm.
called? The silent recession,
Yeah.
um, increased cost of living, inflation,
Yeah.
young people can't buy houses, the list goes on.
It's
Uh,
happening everywhere, like all over the world. So
yeah, so
yeah.
at least, well, you at least can experience it by the beach.
Yes, yes. And you're welcome to come visit anytime. It's rainy right now, but it will be sunny and like 80 next week. Sorry, I don't know what that
Oh,
is in Celsius. It'll be
I don't
sunny
know
and
what
hot.
it yeah. Would love to visit, but I would like to say thank you so, so much for being so vulnerable, so open, sharing your life,
Mm,
um, going out of your comfort zone,
yes.
and joining me on this episode of the podcast.
Thank you so
I hope
much.
no, thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this podcast with Lauren Oglesbe. um, if you enjoyed it, please follow her on TikTok and Instagram. What is your account or at?
Yeah, so it's low underscore Oglesby on TikTok and Instagram, or it might be low dot Oglesby. Why am I like not like blanking on it right now? You'll figure it out. You'll
Yeah,
search it. Just search my name.
yeah, you'll find it. Don't
Mhm.
worry. And if you enjoyed this episode of The Comfort Zone, make sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Save us on your podcasting platform, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and follow us on Instagram at The Comfort Zone. So thank you again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.